There's no urban jungle today, so with even more final score and earlier than planned, we're spending an extra half hour with Jason Mohammad.
He was one of the heroes of the afternoon.
Latest score is Wimbledon.
John Terry's tears, we all remember those.
Crucial week.
Hello and welcome to Final Score, all the day's breaking football stories from the Premier League to the Scottish Premiership. You will not miss a thing. And as expected, lots of drama and goals to tell you about. The former England international Danny Mills and the Reading striker Jason Roberts have been with us during the first half action. Their views coming right up. So here are the latest scores in the Barclays Premier League. And Everton are well on top at Goodison Park, but nothing to show for it so far. Robbie Brady sent John Ruddy the wrong way from the penalty spot in Hull. Norwich City, they lead by a goal to nil to give Steve Bruce's men their first goal of the season. Alan Pardew looks like a man under pressure on the St James's Park sidelines. The Saints' defence gave Emmanuel Giaccherini the freedom of St Mary's Stadium to head the Black Cats into a third-minute lead. And Marouane Chamakh scored his first goal for Crystal Palace after outmuscling Ryan Shawcross. Yep, you heard that correctly. Marouane Chamakh outmuscling Ryan Shawcross for Palace's first goal of the season. And earlier today, Lucas Podolski scored 2 goals at Craven Cottage. A very slick Arsenal in cruise control there. They beat Fulham by 3-1. Danny and Jason, very good afternoon to you. The biggest talking point for us so far is what has happened at Hull City. We've had a sending off and a penalty.
Well, Mike Jones has some big decisions to make. He sent off Sagbo, but he's given a penalty. It's a story of a penalty he's given and a penalty he hasn't given. Turner has a challenge with Aluko in the box, and it looks quite innocuous. They both come together in the air, like you expect players to do. He gives a penalty for that. At the other end, Turner gets taken down. It's the same sort of thing. Someone leans into him, he goes down, and it's not given. And I think you'll be disappointed if that happened to your team. You'll be delighted if you get the penalty. But you want some consistency. And I think from a player's point of view, you see that and you wonder, what's the real difference between those two decisions?
Danny, what's your interpretation of what we've seen there?
Well, off the back of that second decision, that's where the sending-offs come from. We still haven't really seen it. The pitches haven't picked it up sort of clearly yet. Only a very, very sort of distant view that we've had. But Sagbo and Turner have clashed for the penalty that wasn't given. There's then obviously been words said. Mike Jones has come across, straight red card. Not too many Hull players have really complained about it. So, we're told it's mostly an alleged headbutt, and if that's the case, then, of course, the referee has no choice. OK, well, as always on Final Score, we have reporters at all the matches in the Premier League and Championship, plus featured matches in League One, League Two and the Scottish Premiership. All the scores on the screen throughout the afternoon. You can also keep up to date with all the action via the BBC Sport website. You can get the latest news, photos and stats from the BBC Sport Twitter, Facebook and Instagram accounts. So let's start at St James's Park. It's not been the smoothest of summers for Newcastle United and Alan Pardew. The season didn't start much better. A 4-0 thrashing at Manchester City on Monday. It's Newcastle-West Ham. Let's go live to Paul Addison.
Yes, Jason, and considerable pressure on the Newcastle manager already. 1.5 games into the season. How about that? It is 0-0 here. It has been a poor match in all honesty so far. Newcastle's all too familiar failings there for all to see. They just can't create anything in the final third of the field. Of course, West Ham happy that is the case, and they're happy and would be delighted to take a point back down to London. The mood amongst the Newcastle fans, by the way, gallows humour at half-time on the Gallowgate. I gauged a few opinions. One said, if we're here all night, we'll never score. The other one wanted the forecast rain to arrive as soon as possible so it could get called off. It's just started spitting, by the way, and it's 0-0.
Mark Hughes hasn't won a match as manager since May 2012. Ivan Gaskell not going well for him today.
Yeah, we're just into the second half. As I speak, there was an opportunity, I think, for crouched there, stooping low in the 6-yard box, and somehow he contrived to head it straight back over his head and beyond the far post, and the ball stayed in play, and now it's gone for a throw, and it'll be interesting to see if it goes long into the box. Remember, that was a Tony Pulis tactic. Are they going to stick with that? Worth just noting that before I bring you up to speed with what's happened in this first half here, and indeed there goes the long throw, so nothing changes here at Stoke. But the fact is they're 1-0 down thanks to a real moment of quality from Marouane Chamakh on the half-hour mark. Crystal Palace became perhaps the dominant side as the half wore on. And you mentioned spitting with rain. I think Mark Hughes is spitting feathers here. A game and a half into his reign, and you already feel that he's feeling the heat as the sun shines down on a rare occasion here at the Britannia Stadium. 1-0 Palace lead.
Ivan, thank you. Terrific atmosphere at the KC Stadium for James Mason.
Indeed, a tale of two cities and a tale of a couple of very important incidents. Hull City lead Norwich City 1-0. A penalty in the first half, coolly slotted home by Robbie Brady. Sonny Aluko softly brought down in the box by Michael Turner. But then at the other end, Yannick Sagbo sent off in the press box. We didn't really see it. We looked to the monitors. We couldn't really see it from there. It allegedly of course, until we see it properly, has headbutted Russell Martin. Mike Jones had no option but to send him off if that's what's happened. Television replays, a match of the day, must be a watch tonight. Robert Snodgrass has just come on for Bradley Johnson for Norwich. They're 1-0 down. There's 40-odd minutes to go. This game has got everything going for it. It's Hull City 1, Norwich City 0.
Well, some people are tipping Sunderland to go down this season. Jackie Oatley is watching them take on Southampton at the St Mary's.
And they're still leading by that Giaccherini goal to nil early in the first half. But changes for both sides at half-time. Southampton trailing have brought on Klein and Osvaldo, the brand new signing, £15 million for Schneiderlin and Shaw. And for Sunderland, Di Canio's brought on Ji Dong-won for Sessegnon, and a fantastic chance very early on for Ji Dong-won. He volleyed tamely at Borich. And just now, Lallana, lovely 1-2 with Osvaldo, but a fabulous tackle by Diakite. Southampton 0, Sunderland 1.
Roberto Martinez, his first home game in charge in the Premier League of Everton. How's it going, Richard Askham?
Yes, hi Jason. Just a minute into the second half. Everton on the attack at the moment, but they really haven't got going so far today. Overall, that precise passing we saw at Norwich last week has been largely absent. The Blues with Marouane Fellaini, excellent, have dominated possession, but Kevin Mirallas shot apart without creating clear-cut chances. West Brom have sprung on the counter. Morrison and Malumbu both had good efforts. Perhaps watched by the England manager Roy Hodgson today. Ross Barkley, outstanding at Norwich, has tried a little bit hard so far, and I think that going into this second half, Steve Clarke, the West Brom manager, will certainly be the happier of the two.
Thank you, Richard. First goal in our featured matches of the second half has gone to Robin Bailey at Portman Road.
It has. It's Ipswich 1, Leeds 2. They've come from behind in this match, and it's Ross McCormack. Now, why would he want to go to Middlesbrough? There's all this speculation, but when he's playing like this is his third goal already this season, and of course he scored a hatful for the club. It really was a speculative shot, though, about 22, 23 yards out. He hit it. He actually did really well to engineer a chance for himself, but he hit it. I think it must have taken a deflection, because Scott Loach actually jumped over the ball. It went right under his body, so it's got to be a mistake by the goalkeeper, but it did take some kind of deflection, although I didn't see who it was. So McCormack's on the score sheet. It's definitely his goal. It's 3 for him this season, and it's Ipswich 1, Leeds 2.
Right, the most bizarre footballing story of the day is at the Valley. Faye Carruthers can tell you more.
Right, well, it's now 4-1, Jason. I was about to come on and tell you that Simon Church had pulled one back for Charlton. No sooner had he done that, the Tannoy announcer hadn't even announced the scorer yet, and straight down the other end, Theo Robinson with a lovely volley made it 4-1 to Doncaster.
Right, OK, and you've got to bring us right up to date, Faye, with what's happening. The reason why, when Simon Church scored, it was only on 36 minutes. The reason is?
Well, the reason is play was suspended for 20 minutes, roughly, after the referee decided to take all the players off, because the playing surface here at the Valley is very, very slippy. There's been plenty of problems in the Charlton mouth of the goal in particular. The ball's just not moving at all. So he brought the players off for 20 minutes. Some of the Doncaster players, so desperate to get this match back on because they were 3-0 up at the time, were even with pitchforks and brooms trying to clear the water. But yeah, 4-1 here at the Valley.
Let's go to League Two. There's been a goal and a sending off for Steve May to tell us about.
Yeah, extraordinary events in the last couple of minutes here, Jason, because Charles Dunn, the Wycombe fullback, was sent off for an elbow in Alfie Potter's face down the right-hand side, a straight red for him. And then from the resultant free kick, Danny Rose sent a shot in 30 yards out, floated extraordinarily into the far corner. I think the Wycombe goalkeeper, Matt Ingram, might be quite embarrassed by this when he sees it on replay. So a header goes in there from Oxford, which could have made it 2-1, but Oxford back in it now, and it's Oxford 1, Wycombe 1.
The second bizarre story of the day is the story of Millwall trying to look like Sheffield Wednesday, Alan Biggs.
Yes, Sheffield Wednesday 2, Millwall 1 is the score. That's a simple part of the equation, Jason. We're used to half-time substitutions, of course, but in this case, it's the Millwall strip that has changed completely for the second time, because they arrived here without it somehow. The kit man, I don't know if he'll keep his job on Monday. Millwall played the first half in an old Wednesday away strip, which was all yellow, numbered 1 to 11. That was novel. Now Millwall are in all orange, which is their away strip customarily for this season, I'm told. No wonder it's been a confused performance by the bottom team, still without a point this season. That may remain, because despite taking the lead through a Zayati own goal early in the first half, they trail to a Reader Johnson header and a 25-yard strike from Jeremy Hellan. It's still Sheffield Wednesday 2, Millwall 1.
Yes, mystery and intrigue surrounding the kit man at Millwall. Anything like that ever happened to you, boys?
Never happened to me, but I'm surprised with some of the kit men I've had to work with. But it would be worth it for the stick you'd be able to give them forever. I mean, that's a story that you'll never forget. So it'd be worth it just to give some stick out to the kit man.
I've had the wrong kit turn up a couple of times when there's been a colour clash. I think the kit men have always tried to blame the club secretary or blame somebody else. But forgetting it completely, that's a new one.
That's a bizarre story. What do you make of what happened at the Valley as well? The referee taking the players off. I mean, you played in all conditions, didn't you?
Well, from the Doncaster players' point of view, they must have been really disappointed. They're playing fantastic. What a great start to the season. Paul Dickov must be over the moon with that. Apparently, had the players out with pitchforks and trying to help to get the pitch right, because the way they're performing, there's no way they would have wanted that game.
Especially when you're in that position, absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the way they started the season, he's got to be absolutely delighted.
But by all accounts, I think maybe the pitch had something to do with a couple of the goals. The ball sticking in the area. So the referee, if the ball's not running true, the referee has no option. But had it have not continued, Paul Dickov would have been absolutely fuming. I know him very, very well. And I wouldn't have liked to have been that referee.
No, absolutely right. OK, well, there are some other big stories in the Championship. One of them is at Ewood Park. Steve Wyeth.
Yes, Jason, after Blackburn's recent well-publicised troubles, this is a performance to suggest better times could be ahead, because there was an intensity and touch of quality about their performance throughout. Despite falling behind to Chris Dagnall's early strike, they were quickly level, though. Jean-Yves Voto sent off. He was the last man as he fouled Rhodes on the edge of the penalty area, and Tom Kearney, on loan from Hull, curled in the resulting free kick. Now, what followed was an object lesson in how not to defend with 10 men, as Barnsley simply crumbled to gift Rose 2 soft but well-taken goals and a subsequent tap-in for Josh King. This has been an excellent approach from Rovers today after their poor start to the season. They thoroughly deserve to lead 4-1.
We're going to go back to Faye Carruthers at the Valley, and she's going to update us on the score. Charlton Doncaster. Faye, what's going on there?
Oh, it's still 3-1. Apologies, because Theo Robinson did get the ball in the back of the net for Doncaster straight after Simon Church had pulled one back for Charlton. But Robinson was ruled for offside. So it's still 3-1 here at the Valley.
OK, to Huddersfield, Bournemouth. Peter Slater.
Huddersfield still leading Bournemouth at 3-0. That was the half-time score. Their fans must be feeling the worst. Remember, they lost 6-1 on the road at Watford last time out. And despite some good attacking intentions, they've conceded 3 and they could have shipped half a dozen. Adam Hamill scored the first in off the near post. And James Former, what sort of form is he in? 6 for the season from him already. The 2 he scored this afternoon. The first, a header, powerful header from Hamill's cross. And the second, beautifully put through by Martin Patterson. Raced on as all good centre-forwards in form would do. And slid the ball past the goalkeeper. Eddie Howe's made 1 substitution at half-time. Probably wishes he could change all 11. We've played 9 minutes of that second half. It's still 3-0 to Huddersfield.
Yeovil Town got off to a blistering start on the opening day, winning against Millwall. But Hamish Marshall, what's happened to them since?
Well, they haven't scored a league goal since then, which explains half of their problems. They made a double substitution in this game at half-time, bringing on last season's top scorer Paddy Madden and also loan signing Andy Williams as they try to end their
the goal drought. They're trailing here by 2-0. Those 2 goals coming from Derby shortly before half-time. Johnny Russell and Craig Bryson scoring those goals. 10 minutes into the second half, Derby still lead 2-0.
Is there a crisis at the Amex, Tony Husband?
Not on the evidence of the first half, Jason. No, Brighton are leading Burnley in this one. Burnley coming into it unbeaten. Brighton aiming for a first home win of the season, and of course under Oscar Garcia's charge these days. We did have some controversy in the first half. The Burnley keeper Tom Heaton given a yellow card when he took out Will Buckley, who seemed clean through. Now the referee Darren Sheldrake clearly decided it wasn't a clear goal-scoring opportunity. There were some defenders covering back. As for the goal, well, that came just before the half-hour. Ulloa crossing for Andrew Croft's second goal of the season. Brighton on top in the second half as well. Another shot and an appeal for a penalty here. Nothing given. They lead 1-0.
Goal in the Premier League. Ivan Gaskell's got one in the Britannia.
Yes, well, Stoke needed something to cling on to. They've really not performed in this first hour, but at last they have a foothold in the game. Mark Hughes has looked a forlorn figure in that technical area. His suit flapping in the distinct stiff breeze here, but now he's out looking far more vibrant. And no wonder Charlie Adam has got Stoke off the mark in this game. 1-1. He took it well. The ball bounced kindly for him after a little bit of a skirmish in the heart of the penalty area, so they have something to hang on to now, do Stoke, and boy did they need it. An hour in, it's 1-1.
Charlie Adam with the goal. We'll talk to Danny and Jason about that in just a moment. Something else has happened at the Valley. Faye Carruthers.
Oh my goodness, what a day. This game full of drama. Paul Keegan, who scored Doncaster's opening goal just after the first minute, has now picked up a second yellow card and has been sent off. So Doncaster down to 10 men, but still leading 3-1.
Peterborough lead Tranmere Rovers by 4-0. Right, it was a great finish by Charlie Adam.
It was. Peter Crouch gets his head on the ball. He really shouldn't get it on. It bounced around and Charlie Adams shows some real guile just to roll it into the pitch. But now Mark Hughes got some decisions to make. You look at the bench, he's got Jermaine Pennant, Kenwyne Jones, Cameron Jerome. I mean, he can change that team and do what he wants with it. So there's options off the bench there. There's pace, there's power there. And if he decides to really go for this, he's got the options off the bench.
OK, there's another goal. Where's the goal? It's at Yeovil. Hamish Marshall.
And it's 3-0 to Derby County now. Surely you have to think this one's over. Chris Martin is the man on the score sheet. Third goal of the season for him. He was following up after an excellent, powerful shot from Jamie Ward. Could only be parried by Wayne Hennessy in the Yeovil goal. And it was Martin who was first to it. Derby County leading 3-0.
Well, lots happening in the Championship. Peter Slater has a penalty.
And an opportunity for James Vaughan of Huddersfield to pick up his hat-trick. The foul was on Jake Carroll. He was upended on the edge of the penalty area. The referee, Darren Bond, got that right. Here comes Vaughan, right-footed into the roof of the net. 7 for the season for Vaughan. Hat-trick this afternoon. And Bournemouth's woes on the road continue. Huddersfield 4, Bournemouth 0.
And a win today there would make it their best start to a second-tier campaign since 1996. Great start for Huddersfield. What about for Blackburn Rovers? Steve Wyeth.
Well, it's remarkable that we've had to wait 13 minutes in the second half for their 5th goal. It's duly come from fullback Todd Kane, who set up 2 goals in the first half and has now got one for himself, although a bit of a calamity from Barnsley goalkeeper Luke Steele. Kane got plenty behind the shot from the edge of the penalty area, but Steele, diving to his right, got both hands to it and somehow steered it over his left shoulder into the back of the net. Barnsley, I'm afraid, are in absolute disarray. This is a real lesson for anybody who's going to watch the highlights of this game and how not to defend when you've had a man sent off in the first half. 5-1, Blackburn now lead.
There's been a goal for Steve May at the Kassam Stadium in League 2.
Yes, it's now Oxford United 1, 10-man Wycombe Wanderers 2, and it's a second goal for Dean Morgan, a penalty after he had won it following a challenge by Tom Newey. Must say that Dean Morgan went down pretty easy, but his penalty was excellent, sending it to the right of Ryan Clark, and it's now Oxford 1, Wycombe 2.
And Tony Husband, at the Amex, you have something to tell us.
Yes, I was telling you, Tom Heaton, many people felt he perhaps should have been sent off for Burnley in the first half when he took out Will Buckley, who was through on goal. Well, just moments after I told you about that, Heaton eventually was sent off. He's received a second yellow card for an incident on the edge of the penalty area where he appeared to handle the ball outside the box, and Darren Sheldrake has given him that second yellow card. So after all, Burnley are down to 10 men. They've lost their keeper. Ian Wone, the assistant manager, has been sent off as well. Such was the confusion as to what the referee was giving. But Brighton lead 1-0, and now they are playing 10 men.
Let's go to League One and talk to Will Perry, because last night Barry Hearn, the Leyton Orient chairman, told the players to fill your boots. He likes paying bonuses, Will.
I think they filled their boots with water today, Jason. It's still torrential weather here. The pitch like a water park, as I said at half-time. They still lead Crewe by 2-0. Both those goals coming in the first half, and it was Moses Odubejo and a penalty from David Mooney just before the break. In the last few minutes, Anthony Grant so nearly put through his own net for the visitors. A wild pass back. It reminded me a little bit of that Peter Enkelman one for Aston Villa. You remember that against Birmingham in the Midlands derby. Much better from Crewe, though, in this second half, but they're trailing Leyton Orient 2-0.
Crystal Palace fans, you may want to look away now. Ivan Gaskell.
I think their defenders just did for a split second, and Stoke City capitalised. And you know, there is an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And there's maybe a feeling of that around Stoke, that the way that they've played in the last few years has been good enough to keep them solid in the Premier League. And it's just been interesting to see that they are not dispensing with the long throw, because it's worked for them in the past and it's worked for them again today. The long throw came in, the heads went up, it bounced around. Palace didn't defend it well. They were beaten too easily to the ball. It fell to Shawcross, that well-known poacher, and he did the rest. Shawcross, the big defender, atoning for his earlier defensive lapse, which allowed Palace to score, has put Stoke in front here, and they're all smiling suddenly.
Thank you, Ivan. And it sounds like they're all singing the Stoke City anthem, booming around the Britannia Stadium. Dreadful defending by Palace.
Horrendous defending, but Stoke, if in doubt, revert to type. Long throw into the box. Palace defence were nowhere. Shawcross, it's actually a really good finish, quite a cool finish into the bottom corner, but completely unmarked, 6 yards from goal. Ian Holloway has got to sort that defence out. Once you go 1-0 up in the Premier League, it's a great opportunity, and he'll be devastated they've gone 2-1 down.
But do they have the necessary Premier League experience? You know, when you go in front away from home, something we touched on at the start of the programme, when you look at that squad, they don't have the experience at this level to maybe defend a 1-0 lead.
I think that's when even players that have played in the Championship, you know, if you go 1-0 up, that's an opportunity. You know, shut up shop, don't go searching for goals. You know Stoke are going to come in with a long throw, be organised. Even at Liverpool last week, when they tried to play, they still used Crouch as the target man. They still used set pieces. Ian Holloway should have known that was coming. They should have been better prepared in my
Jace, just a quick one for you on Mark Hughes. You've played under Mark Hughes. There's a shot of Mark Hughes when they equalise. He still looks absolutely furious.
Oh, he demands the best from his players, and he'll demand that they go on and do more. This is a game that they would expect to win, mate, no doubt about it. And the fact they've had to revert back to type, as Danny says, is something that he won't be scared to do. If he needs to put the ball in the box and make him physical, then they'll want to win the physical battle first and foremost. But like I said earlier, they have the options off the bench. At 2-1, to be quite comfortable, but it wouldn't surprise me if he makes some changes.
Let's go back to the Championship. Faker Others at the Valley can bring us right up to date with this bizarre game between Charlton Athletic and Doncaster Rovers.
It is the most bizarre game. An hour and 20 minutes after we started, it's finally half-time here at the Valley, and what a half it has been. Play was suspended for almost 20 minutes because of the amount of rain falling here. The ball barely moving across the surface of the pitch. Doncaster took the lead after just 1 minute through a Paul Keegan header. Chris Brown made it 2 after 17 minutes, set up by Theo Robinson, and Brown then got his second after a clearance hit his head and ended up in the back of the net. 10 minutes after play restarted, Simon Church pulled one back for Charlton, but no sooner had he done that, Robinson had the ball in the back of the net at the other end, but that was ruled offside. Doncaster were then reduced to 10 men after Keegan picked up his second yellow card of the afternoon. Finally half-time here at the Valley. Doncaster lead Charlton 3-1.
Right, OK, let's go into the Scottish Premiership. A disastrous result for Celtic in midweek in the Champions League, and Inverness Caledonian Thistle's terrific start to the season continues, Ian.
Yes, prior to this game, they hadn't lost a goal in their three previous games, and of course sit proudly at the top of the league, as they still do, and they will indeed at the end of this match, if it stays as it is. We've had no further scoring since half-time. Inverness leading 2-1, but it's been much better from Celtic in the second half. Neither manager has made any changes, but Inverness have been forced back. Baldy's had a couple of chances just over the bar with his head. He's also been booked for a late tackle in the Inverness keeper. Celtic coming into it, and don't be surprised if I'm back on shortly telling you about the equaliser. Inverness lead 2-1.
Thank you, Ian. Well, the day's early game in the Premier League took place at Craven Cottage. Fulham 1, Arsenal 3.
Your performance today. We had an impressive performance because we played like a team who knows is in control and knows what they are doing. We have a style of play that the players respected well, and overall I think we deserved the win, and so it's good that we had a good win at Fenerbahce. We had a good win today. It's good to respond after our disappointing first result.
At the heart of midfield, Aaron Ramsey was magnificent again today.
Well, he develops. He's a young player who is on the way up. We have great players in midfield. Wilshere, I could rest Wilshere today. He's another great player. We have Chamberlain. We have great young players who are or British or English. So we don't get any credit for that, but we give them a chance.
And all summer people have been saying Arsenal bring in a new striker, bring in a new striker. Giroud and Podolski now have 38 goals for you between them in just over a season.
That's, you have to look at the performances and not too much at always opinions. I can understand that people want names, and we want as well, but you have to find the right balance between trusting your players and getting the right reinforcement of a squad when it's possible.
In League Two, Bristol Rovers were 2-0 up at home to York City. It's now 2-2. Ryan Jarvis with the penalty on 64 minutes and Tranmere 0. Peterborough 5. Mark Little with their 5th on 68 minutes. Let's have a very brief chat about Arsenal. What have you made of what's happened to them this week, Danny?
I think Fulham was a good game for them. Two teams that want to play football, get the ball down. I was surprised that Darren Bent didn't start the game. I thought, with the problems that Arsenal have at the back, Mertesacker hasn't got the greatest amount of pace. Koscielny's obviously out through suspension. When Darren Bent came on, he caused problems and got a goal. I thought he would have started the game. He didn't. And once Arsenal, their midfield is phenomenal. Even with the injuries they've got some great players in that midfield. Giroud, Arsene Wenger said, would be better in his second season. That seems to be proving the case. I still think they need a top-quality centre-half and an out-and-out goal-scorer to get them probably into the top 3. But as always, Arsene Wenger does. He pulls results out and he manages to keep them playing just enough, to keep the real pressure off.
In fairness, it has been a pretty dramatic turnaround, isn't it? They've gone to Fenerbahce, they've won 3-0 there, look like they've sealed their place in the Champions League. Then they go to Fulham, potentially a very difficult game for them today. And as Danny says, they played very well today.
Well, people talk about crisis at Arsenal. You're talking about a team that has gone 16 consecutive seasons in the Champions League. Last season, 14 clean sheets, the second best in the Premier League. Walcott, 21 goals. Giroud, 17 goals. So, yes, they can improve. Giroud started very well this season. So, like Danny says, they can improve. But let's look at what they're doing, what they've done in the past. And Arsene Wenger seems very comfortable in the players that he has. And I think you have to give him the opportunity to improve on that because he's not been proved wrong yet. The real question is, what is success for Arsenal?
Yeah.
Is it challenging for titles or is it getting the Champions League? Because if that's success, they've achieved that.
But also, what do they need in order to go back then challenging the big 3? Do they need a goalkeeper? Do they need a top striker? Do they need to do anything with that midfield?
I think they need... The goalkeeper situation, since probably Jens Lehmann left, has never really been sorted out. I think they need a dominant centre-half. Nothing has been won at that football club since Sol Campbell left. That Sol Campbell-Martin Keown partnership is key. You don't win anything, with a bad defence. Success for Arsenal, I think, is winning trophies and being in the Champions League. When they moved to the Emirates, all those titles around that sort of that middle tier are all there. There's space for about another 8 that are left blank. They were expecting to win titles and trophies, and it hasn't happened. So I think their Champions League is brilliant, but at the moment they are just underachieving a little bit.
But what do Arsenal need to do? Strange enough, to keep their best players. Can you keep Walcott 21 goals and keep Giroud? If they can keep Robin Van Persie and you add him to that team, imagine what they could have had.
OK. Thank you very much indeed. There are goals to tell you about. The first one, Peter Slater at the John Smith Stadium.
Well, it's too early to say it's a consolation goal for Bournemouth because there's still 20 minutes left for play. It's now 4-1 to Huddersfield. One of their substitutes, and Eddie Howe's made 3 in the second half. Mark Pugh with a header from a right-wing cross makes it Huddersfield 4, Bournemouth 1. As I say, too early to say consolation. Huddersfield remain well and truly in control of the match.
There was a great moment in the studio a few moments ago when Bristol Rovers went 3-2 up against York City. Jason Roberts fist-punching his way through Bristol Rovers scoring their third goal. John Joe O'Toole has scored for them on 67 minutes. Substitutions taking place right across the country. Paul Addison is going to bring us right up to date with one at Newcastle.
Yes, Newcastle have made 2 changes in this second half so far, Jason, where it is still 0-0. The home crowd becoming increasingly frustrated. Sammy Amiobi's come on to join his brother now. Sammy Amiobi had a very ordinary spell on loan at Middlesbrough in the Championship last season, but can he turn this game for Newcastle here? And Johan Gouffran has just come on as well in place of Papi Cissé. It doesn't matter what Alan Pardew does. It seems to make no difference to the final third when Newcastle still lack ideas. West Ham, best chance of the match. Kevin Nolan, who else, should have scored with a free header, but it remains 0-0.
Swindon have scored. They lead Gillingham by 2-1. Nathan Thompson on 68 minutes. Steve Clarke, West Brom manager, going for it. Richard Askham.
Yes, Matty Vidra is on for West Bromwich Albion. Scored 20 goals, of course, on loan at Watford in the Championship last season. It's really opened up this game, actually, Jason. We've had chances at both ends. Ross Barkley, in particular for Everton, a good save by Ben Foster. The Baggies keeper has been excellent today. And at the other end, James Morrison with a shot that was palmed away by Tim Howard. I thought there were going to be lots of goals in this game, but the longer it goes on, you sense that one could win it.
We've got a goal for Delith Lloyd at Blackpool.
No, we don't, actually, Jason. 72 minutes gone here at Bloomfield Road. Still Blackpool 0, Reading 0. Bit of a disappointing game, really, because on paper this match did scream goals, but it is still goalless. Reading do have Adam Lefondre on, though, as a sub. He's already scored twice this season, so let's hope I will be seeing some goals before the 90 minutes is up. Still goalless here, though, Jason.
Right, well done. There is a goal, though, for Steve Wyeth at Ewood Park. It's Blackburn, not Blackpool. Not my call.
Jason, there is a goal here, and it's a goal back for Barnsley. I don't think it's the start of a stirring fight back, if I'm honest, because they trail 5-2, but they will be encouraged that Root Wanners work for them out of defence. Debutant Marcus Pedersen off the bench laid it off for another substitute, Thomas Sivka, the Czech, and he fired in from 12 yards out. Remember, they did lead 1-0 Barnsley until they had Jean-Yves Mvoto sent off. It all unravelled for them after that, but at least they've got a goal back. Blackburn 5, Barnsley 2.
And there's a goal for Tony Husband at the Amex.
Yes, Brighton 2, 10-man, Burnley 0. Fine cross from Buckley down on the right-hand side. And Ulloa, well, he's had a good game, and he just hung in the air waiting for this and then directed his header beautifully past the substitute keeper, Sisak, who was on after Heaton was sent off for 2 yellow cards. Brighton look set now for their first home win of the season. They're leading 10-man Burnley 2-0.
Let's drop in at the King Power Stadium. Leicester City, Birmingham City, Andrew James.
Well, Birmingham City on course for back-to-back away wins here, Jason. They still lead by a goal to nil from Matt Green. Leicester made a change at half-time, sending on Anthony Knockaert in place of Chris Wood. It meant they went 4-4-2 instead of 4-3-3, and they look brighter for a spell, but it's been all Birmingham in the last 5 minutes. They look the more likely scorers. Leicester 0, Birmingham 1.
Right. You're not going to believe this. There's a goal for Delith Lloyd. We were right. Blackpool, Reading.
Finally, Jason, just what I wanted. 74 minutes gone. Blackpool are 1-0 up against Reading. Some great work by their substitution, Tom Barkhuizen, who literally picked up the ball in the midfield, dribbled with it right into the penalty area, brushed off a couple of Reading defenders and slotted it into the back of the net with his left foot. The crowd are going wild, but it's Blackpool 1, Reading 0. Blackpool, of course, could go top of the Championship this afternoon if they win.
So, Jason, Bristol Rovers leading. You were very happy. Now you've gone miserable all of a sudden.
Yeah, disappointed. I mean, Blackpool are a hard challenge, especially down there. But, we're disappointed. But we've got Alfie on as well. Lefondre, he's fantastic. His goal-scoring record off the bench has been outstanding. So let's hope that he can nick another goal for us. OK, thank you very much. Let's go to Richard Askham at Goodison Park. Roberto Martinez also ringing the changes.
Yes, he needed to respond, I think, because West Brom were just starting to get a foothold in the game in this half. Aruna Kone, 11 Premier League goals for Wigan last season, is on, as is Stephen Naismith in place of Nikita Jelavic and Kevin Miralas. We've just seen West Brom just start to find some pattern in this game. Matty Vidra making those clever runs behind the centre halves of Everton. I do think, though, Jason, that Kone, this game, because it is really stretched, could suit him. We'll see if he can make an impact.
Right, OK, James Mason has had a very busy afternoon at the KC Stadium. Bring us right up to date, James.
Well, it's still Hull City 1, Norwich City 0, but Jason, the nerves being tested here to the full for the home crowd. They still lead through Robbie Brady's goal, but Norwich have the wind in their sails. That man advantage, of course. Their players now first to every ball. Johnny Howson almost having a free rein in midfield and has twice struck from range. One effort well saved by Alan McGregor, but an even better save came from a sharp header from Ricky van Wolfswinkel. New signing Johan Elman. Oh, what's happening here? Not a sending off, but goodness me, it's all happening in this game. A yellow card for number 14, Jake Livermore. I was just telling you, new signing Johan Elmander is on for Norwich, as is Wes Hoolahan, as they go in search for the equaliser. It's Hull City 1, Norwich City 0.
James, thank you very much indeed. I wonder if word has filtered down to Paolo Di Canio. There are pundits in this studio and the Football Focus studio predicting the Paolo Di Canio's team are going down. Jackie Oatley, imagine being in that room when he hears that.
Yeah, Paolo Di Canio is very animated on the touchline, as you can imagine. His side, though, still leading by a goal to nil despite the onslaught from Southampton in the first half. But in the second half, I make it 8 chances alone since the break. Such has been the onslaught, with Lallana being the creative influence, though he's been subbed for Ramirez for some reason. Record signing Osvaldo's come on, and he looks a real talent. He set up Rodriguez for a header straight at Westwood. Lambert and Lallana have also had chances. At the other end, very little from Sunderland other than an Altidore chance denied by Boric. Southampton 0, Sunderland 1.
AFC Wimbledon have scored against Scunthorpe. Harry Pell on 75 minutes. MK Dons 2, Bristol City 2, Samir Carruthers on 69. There was an early game in the Championship at the Reebok Stadium, and it went well for Harry's boys. QPR went top of the table for the time being, thanks to this goal from Andrew Johnson. Striker finishing off a superb move with a tap-in at the far post. Looks very pleased with that one. And talking of kits, that's an interesting away kit for Queen's Park Rangers away from home. Terrific goal for Andy Johnson. That's now 3 wins and a draw for Harry Redknapp's team. Let's hear from the man himself.
Well, Harry, in many ways, the perfect away performance. You've soaked up the pressure and you've taken your chance when it's come along.
Yeah, I felt that it was quite an even game, really, you know, and it was always going to be a tight one. But it was a great goal from our point of view, you know, good movement, good passing. Clint got on the overlap and a good, you know, great ball across the face of the goal, and Andy Johnson supplied the finish.
How pleased are you with the start of the season?
Yeah, I've been very pleased. You know, it's all about good players, really. And I feel we've had 17, 18 have gone out the club, and the lads that we've brought in have been top class. You know, I think you look today, the new lads come in along with the lads who are already here. But you know, Danny Simpson, Richard Dunn, Carl Henry, you know, Joey Barton today. I thought they were excellent, and so, you know, Gary O'Neill, Charlie, Austin, all the new players have come in and played their part, and the lads that we've kept are good lads. So it's all about a good dressing room, a good group of lads who want to do well for the club. And this lot I feel they want to play here. Whereas perhaps, you know, last year and a month or 6 weeks ago, we had too many who really didn't want to play at QPR. So they've gone, and we've got a group in who are good to work with.
OK, let's go to Peter Slater. He has a goal for us at the John Smith Stadium.
5th one for Huddersfield. This is the best of the afternoon. Watch it on the Football League show later. Adam Clayton, 25 yards out, maybe slightly more, left-footed, whistled past the goalkeeper, top corner of the net. Huddersfield 5, Bournemouth 1.
And, of course, Bournemouth's last away performance was a 6-1 defeat, of course, at Watford. So the same thing could happen today. Right, Jason, given the fact that you're hoping to bounce back up to the Premier League with Reading, they're the team you fear, Queen's Park Rangers, aren't they?
You've got to. Very, very strong squad. We went up to Bolton recently and they're very, very competitive. Certainly at home, they're going to be a force. So for QPR to go up there and win in the way they did, obviously Andy Johnson's going to be a massive player for them. We've got Bobby Zamora back. I think they're going to be up challenging for the promotion. As he said, they're players who want to play, players who are motivated. Harry Redknapp's got that appeal that he can get players playing for him. And I think it looks like it's a happy camp there. But hopefully we'll be there challenging them.
That's a big win today at Bolton Wanderers, Danny. But I thought that was really interesting hearing Harry there say last year perhaps he had players on the books players he didn't sign who didn't want to be there. A different atmosphere this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've also got to remember, love him or hate him, Joey Barton's come back into the frame as well. Joey, if you can get him playing and keep his head right, is a real quality player. You know, he's played in the Premier League, he's been in that division as well, obviously with Newcastle, knows it very, very well. I also think Steve McLaren is a very astute acquisition. Steve is a fantastic coach, and I think he'll add an awful lot of quality to QPR's training sessions, the way they play, their organisation. Then you've got the effervescent Harry Redknapp. I think QPR certainly have to be favourites.
OK, we've got a goal in the Scottish Premiership. Is it an equaliser for Celtic, Ian Turner?
It is. That equaliser, I said, might come about, and it's come from the most unlikely of sources. Right back, Adam Matthews has got Celtic back on level terms. His left foot really is only for standing on. He had the chance to shoot with his left. He cut back onto his right. It was straight and true into the corner. Celtic 2, Inverness 2.
2. Let's go to Andrew James at the King Power Stadium. There's a goal there.
There is. It's an equalising goal for Leicester, Jason. It's come from Jamie Vardy, his second of the season. Scored on the opening day at Middlesbrough, and he's got Leicester the equalising goal that they deserve. A shot from the edge of the box. Leicester could have had 4 or 5, but their finishing has been poor. Birmingham just couldn't hold out. Leicester 1, Birmingham 1.
Let's get the latest from Richard Askham at Goodison.
Yes, Ben Foster, who's had an excellent game in goal for West Bromwich Albion, Jason, has had to go off. We didn't see a particular incident. I think it was something pretty innocuous as he cleared a ball, but the England goalkeeper has gone off, replaced by Luke Daniels, former England under-19 international who's been on loan at various clubs. I wonder if that could be significant, because when called into action, Ben Foster has been excellent today in front of the England manager Roy Hodgson. Everton, though, are still stuttering. Aruna Kone has had the odd lung-bursting run, but they really aren't getting through the West Bromwich Albion defence at the moment, Everton.
Let's go to the Championship, and Faye Carruthers can bring us right up to date with what's happening at the Valley. It sounds like it's all over.
It is, Jason. The game has been abandoned. We were waiting for the players to come back after half-time, but they've just come out to applaud their fans instead after the referee decided play could not continue. The rain here has been teeming down. Bizarrely, it's actually stopped, but the playing surface is very, very wet, very, very slippy. The ball hardly moving at all. So the game suspended, abandoned as it is, and it was Doncaster who were leading 3-1 with a man sent off.
Let's go to Paul Addison at St James's Park. We'll talk about what's happened at Charlton in just a moment. Let's go to Paul at St James's Park.
Yes, time running out, Jason, for Newcastle to get the goal that 50-odd thousand Geordie fans crave here, but they continue to struggle. They've had plenty of the possession in the second half, but it is just that final third. It is just creating chances that continues to elude them, and that Kevin Nolan header remains the best chance of the game against his old club. He planted it wide when he was unmarked in the area. We're just seeing Joe Cole on as a sub for West Ham, curl a shot wide of Tim Krul's post. It is still goalless.
Thank you very much, Paul. Well, you boys have got lots of league games under your belt, and cup games for that matter. Has that ever happened to you, what's happened at the Valley today?
It's never happened. We're actually having a bit of a laugh because we played a lot of games between us and not quite sure what happens in this situation.
And also, we'll have played on some horrendous pitches, you know, when it was proper mud and rain and all the rest of it. It's Paul Dickoff is going to be absolutely fuming with that. You know, his side's doing well.
And they've played so well there as well today, in the conditions.
Well, and also, I'm not quite sure as well. Obviously, they've had a player sent off as well. Is that suddenly wiped out? Does that go forward? I'm not quite sure. It's all a bit of a shambles, and I think that referee is going to have Mr. Dickoff in his ear for the next good hour, I reckon.
I suppose it raises the debate about just how bad the conditions are. And, you know, all the fans are there. There's obviously health and safety implications there as well.
Well, it's the same for both teams. And I think, you know, if you're that far into the game, that score, Doncaster are going to feel a little bit harshly treated, to say the least. And Paul Dickoff will be in the referee's ear because, you know, an opportunity to go away from home, to perform like that and score the goals they have, and for it to be wiped off, you know, any manager's going to feel hard done by.
Absolutely. Right, another goal for Andrew James at the King Power Stadium.
Leicester have completely turned it around, Jason. They lead by 2-1, and it's Andy King who scored this time. A carbon copy, really, of Vardy's goal a few moments ago. Right on the edge of the box and powered it past Darren Randolph. Just prior to that, a second blatant penalty appeal turned down by referee Eddie Ilderton for Leicester. Nigel Pearson went and grabbed the Birmingham City manager, of course, Lee Clark, took him to the fourth referee and seemed to be saying he thought it was a penalty as well. Moment of light relief on what had so far been a bad day for Nigel Pearson. He's happy now, though. Leicester 2, Birmingham 1.
Back to the Premier League at Goodison Park. The man they're all talking about, Marouane Fellaini, should have scored, Richard Askham.
Yes, I think he should have scored, Jason. He hit the post, he did everything right. He brought it down on his chest. A chip ball in from Phil Jagielka. The West Bromwich Albion defenders thought Fellaini was offside. He wasn't. He brought it down 6 yards out, poked it with the outside of his boot like he likes to do, and it came back off the post. But yes, I think he should have scored. And then a minute later, Aruna Kone in a mad scramble in the box as well. He almost put the ball into the back of the net for Everton, but it remains goalless.
OK, let's ask Danny and Jason what they think about what's been happening between Goodison Park and Old Trafford. Do you think that Fellaini and Baines should be allowed to leave Goodison?
Well, whether they should or not, I'm not sure if that's the issue. I think it's more David Moyes, how quickly things have changed. You know, when you saw the Joleon Lescott situation, how annoyed he was with Man City, their treatment of Everton coming in for a player that they really wanted to keep. Now he's coming in as Man United's manager saying, hey, no, for the best of the guys' careers, can you let him go? And I think that just shows a different perspective that people will have. Will they leave? Probably they will. Will Everton be happy about it? They certainly won't for the price that have been quoted at the minute. 28 million for those players. I don't think it's anywhere near what they're worth. And they're going to have to come back with a better bid.
Right, OK, I'm going to come back to this as well. But we've got dramatic scenes at the St Mary's. Jackie Oatley.
Because Jose Fonte has equalised for Southampton with just a couple of minutes remaining. Fantastic free kick from James Ward-Prowse, the 18-year-old, the youngster, local boy, who's been outstanding all afternoon. And there was the big centre-half, Jose Fonte, with a downward header, and the very, very least that Southampton deserve. They've been all over Sunderland throughout this game. It's Southampton 1, Sunderland 1.
What's amazing about that goal? Do you see Mauricio Pochettino? He's got his arms folded when they score. No gesture whatsoever. Cool as you like. Great header.
All about delivery, though. Great ball into the box in that area where defenders don't like it. You know, but between the goalkeeper and the defenders, a really good header into the back of the net.
OK, we've got a penalty at Hillsborough. Alan Biggs.
It's going to be taken by Millwall, a chance for them to equalise at 2-2, a chance for them to take their first point of the season, rather controversially awarded not by the referee but a linesman who spotted a push on Richard Chaplow. Andy Keogh is the man with the responsibility. 86th minute this is at Hillsborough, Wednesday leading 2-1, but will it be that after this kick? Chaplow has forced the penalty. It's going to be taken by Keogh. He's going to approach the ball for the second time now. The referee insisting that everybody is at the edge of the area, not encroaching before it's taken. Nervy moment this. Keogh pauses and then, with the keeper committing himself, calmly slides it into the other corner. Keogh equalises for Millwall. It may well be their first point of the season. Sheffield Wednesday 2, Millwall 2.
And it looks like that change of kit has indeed worked. The ball was in the net, Paul Addison, at St James's Park, but it doesn't count.
It doesn't. It was West Ham who scored, Jason, but they had two men, as far as I could count, well offside. Newcastle failed to clear, and Maiga did put the ball into the back of the net, but linesman ruled it out, flag straight in front of him. Newcastle continue to attack here, but I'm afraid for them it's in vain. It is still goalless, and we're into 3 minutes of added time.
Let's go back then to that discussion about Marouane Fellaini and Leighton Baines at Goodison Park. What's your philosophy on whether a player should be allowed to leave a club?
It's always a difficult one. If players are unhappy and they say they want to leave, which they should do, if you want to leave a football club, come out and say, you know what, I want to go. It lets everybody know, lets the fans know, and they make it clear. Then if they have to stay, they've got to deal with that. I think what will be interesting after David Moyes' comments about, furthering their career, I think there might be a bid on Monday for Wayne Rooney from Chelsea, perhaps. I think Jose might just say, well, let him go. He can further his career at Chelsea. I'm not sure David Moyes will take too kindly to that, though.
Do you think that something big might happen on the Rooney?
I would. If I was Mourinho and I was Chelsea, without a shadow of a doubt, I would try and upset them. If Rooney is going to be maybe in the team or maybe not, if it's in the back of his mind that he could be at Chelsea, the week after or in the coming weeks, then certainly, is he going to play as well? Is he going to try his absolute hardest? Whether it just unsettles them for one game, you've got to do everything possible as a
massive
manager.
Game Monday night. You saw the pictures of when United scored at Swansea and Rooney was trudging back to the centre circle. The rest of the players are celebrating.
I've seen that, though, but if you look at the analysis of that game, Rooney runs about 55 yards to help create that goal. So I think he's been a little bit harshly treated in saying he sprinted 55 yards one way, he's then got to run all the way back to the bench and celebrate. I think that's maybe taken out of context a little bit.
Good point. Do you think that might be kind of a media story then? That everyone's picked up on, look how disgruntled he is?
Yeah, I think they've made something out of that where it wasn't. Because I'm pretty sure if Jason's run 55 yards forward, he ain't running 55 yards back to celebrate.
You're right about that, not with my hit. But listen, Rooney's obviously not happy. But one thing you know about him, when he goes on that football pitch, he gives 100%. And he will do, because like I've always said about these situations, in the end, the window shuts and you need to perform. And if it does shut and he's there, yet again, he'll be one of the best players that Man United have.
OK, in a word, do you play him?
Yes.
Monday night. Danny?
No.
No. Yes and no. Love it. Let's go to Paul Addison at St James's Park.
Newcastle aren't going to go any closer than this, it would seem, Jason, this afternoon. Sami Amiobi, left-hand side. It was a cross-come shot. It hit the inside of the post, beat UC Escalainen, bounced back out to Johan Gouffran, who put it over the top from no more than 2 yards out. Will they ever score? Still 0-0.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Just take a look at those stats. They've had so many attempts and yet none on target, Newcastle United.
I'd be disappointed that one's fallen to Amiobi, obviously, but Cisse hasn't really been in the match as much as he would have liked. But they are having problems scoring goals at this moment in time.
Let's go to Goodison Park. Richard Askham.
Yes, Everton pressing. Marouane Fellaini has had a header on target that was just scrambled away at the last moment. And Everton are pressing in these last few moments. Ross Barkley, who I think he's been perhaps a little nervous with Roy Hodgson watching him today, the England manager. He's started to spark a little bit, but they are running out of time. We're into the last minute of normal time here at Goodison Park.
OK, it's all over at St James's Park. All over in the Scottish Premiership. Ian Turner at Celtic Park.
Celtic 2, Inverness 2, the champions against the league leaders, finished all square, and it's Celtic who will feel the more relieved, having trailed 2-0. Doran and Foran gave Inverness that 2-0 lead, but the champions got back into it before half-time through Charlie Mulgrew. Celtic, the dominant force after the break, and Adam Matthews' goal 8 minutes from time earned Neil Lennon's side a merited point at Celtic Park. Celtic 2, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 2.
From a corner, it finished Southampton 1, Sunderland 1.
In the Championship, it's finished at Portman Road. Robin Bailey.
Yes, it's finished. Ipswich 1, Leeds 2. The fans delighted away to my right. None of them sat down for the whole match, and they've been rewarded. The kind of performance which defines Leeds' bid for promotion. Tough, uncompromising and experienced. They stayed unbeaten and came from behind after David McGoldrick's excellent 20-minute strike on 11 minutes. They got back on terms. Ross McCormack's shot deflected into the path of Luke Varney. He took it well. That was his first of the season as well. And also the winner from Ross McCormack, when he had a shot from 22 yards, it went under Scott Loach after a slight deflection, and then they defended it really well. Leeds deserved this. 2-1.
A terrific win for Stoke City. Mark Hughes' first win as manager since May 2012, Ivan Gaskell.
Yes, he'll be mighty relieved. You know, after an hour or so here, it was all going so wrong for him. Palace were ahead through Marouane Chamak's fine moment of quality on half an hour, and Palace were good value for their lead, but then it suddenly changed. The atmosphere went from subdued to buoyant as first Charlie Adam and then Ryan Shawcross capitalised on some yawning holes in that Palace defence, and Stoke felt they'd done enough, and they were right. And Zonzi hit a post. It could have been worse for Palace. It's a tough one and a harsh lesson for them, but they really must defend better than that in the Premier League. Stoke City hung on, did the job, and Mark Hughes walks off with a broad smile. Stoke 2, Crystal Palace 1.
Late drama at the King Power Stadium for Andrew James.
It's all wrapped up for Leicester now, Jason. Leicester 3, Birmingham 1. Kevin Nugent with a penalty, won by Lloyd Dyer. They've turned it round from being a goal down. Leicester 3, Birmingham 1, last minute of normal time.
Big win for Blackburn Rovers for Steve Wyeth.
Yes, and doesn't the unexpected in football usually delight? A contest between teams with just 4 wins in 28 matches combined hardly promised 7 goals, but Chris Dagnall was the catalyst for the defensive carnage, giving the visitors an early lead. It was harsh on Blackburn, and they responded. And Voto dismissed for a professional foul on Jordan Rhodes, and Tom Kearney dispatched the resulting free kick. Rhodes is simply too good a striker to give up the 2 gifts that were presented to him. The second of them was a sublime lob. Josh King added a 4th before half-time. Todd Kane's first Rovers made it 5 before Thomas Sifka struck late on to at least halt the humiliation for Barnsley. But the scoreline does not flatter Blackburn. They were excellent.
Lots of goals in the Championship today, and Peter Slater, Bournemouth have been battered again.
Absolutely, they need to sort out their away form, Jason, if they wish to avoid a difficult season back in the Championship. They lost 6-1 at Watford a fortnight ago, and despite some good attacking intent, conceded another 5 here. James Vaughan will grab the headlines, of course. A hat-trick takes his total for the season to 7. The goals, a header, a shot, a penalty, came in between Adam Hamill's toe poke and a 25-yard screamer from Adam Clayton. Mark Pugh did head one in for Bournemouth. The Premier League's youngest goal scorer, Vaughan, remember, he already is enjoying a fine season. But Eddie Howe has work to do. Huddersfield have beaten Bournemouth 5-1.
Late goal for Chris Wilder's Oxford United. Steve May.
Yes, it's Oxford.
We've lost you. It's 2-2. Oxford 2, Wycombe 2. We've just lost Steve. Let's go to the KC Stadium. It's all over there. James Mason.
It's finished Hull City 1, Norwich City 0. Steve Bruce has targeted at least 10 wins to keep his side in the Premier League this season. Well, the first is under his belt, but rarely will his players have to work as hard again to record their next. The first half contained all the incident. The game's only goal coming from Robbie Brady, a penalty. Sonny Aluko softly brought down in the box. Brady, the coolest man in Humberside, sending John Ruddy the wrong way to score. But then came the talking point of the game. Hull's Yannick Sagbo sent off a straight red for a headbutt off the ball on Russell Martin. Excellent refereeing by Mike Jones. It was one-way traffic for the rest of the match. Hull holding on. Goalkeeper Alan McGregor, arguably their man of the match, pulling off save after save after save. A big win. Hull City 1, Norwich City 0.
It's Johnny Mullins who got the goals for Oxford United. Back into the Championship, a terrific start of the season for Blackpool. Their best ever start, Delith Lloyd.
It is, Jason. If I've done my maths correctly, Blackpool will be top of the Championship this evening after this 1-0 win over Reading. It's the club's best ever start to a season, as you say, as they move on to 10 points. The winner came in the 75th minute from 20-year-old Tom Barkhusen, his first ever goal for the club. Finding the ball 25 yards out, Barkhusen ran with it into the area, brushed past a couple of Reading defenders and unleashed a left-foot shot into the net. You won't forget that one in a hurry, and we'll sure to be watching the Football League show tonight. As for Reading, they lose their unbeaten record. It's their first defeat of the season. They had their chances before the break through Drenthe and Karachan, but as the Big Dipper celebrates its 90th birthday this weekend, Blackpool will be looking down on everyone at the top of the Championship. It's finished. Blackpool 1, Reading 0.
And what a terrific game today at the King Power Stadium. Andrew James.
Terrific last 20 minutes, Jason. It was dreadful before that, but Leicester won't mind celebrating Nigel Pearson's 50th birthday with a win. They were 1-0 down to Matt Green of Birmingham City for a long time in the match, but then Jamie Vardy pulled it back to 1-1, Andy King for 2-1, and a Kevin Nugent penalty for 3-1 before Chris Burke popped up with a late consolation for Birmingham. Leicester now with 10 points from their 4 games so far. Leicester 3, Birmingham 2.
Love playing Burnley, did the double over them last season, Tony Husband.
Yeah, they've beaten them again today in a game which will be remembered for Burnley keeper Tom Heaton's 2 yellow cards, which left his side with 10 men. He'd perhaps been lucky to have stayed on the pitch in the first half when he took out Will Buckley. Then with Burnley trailing to Andrew Cross' first half goal, he handled the ball twice in the box without it touching another player. That's what we believe led to the second yellow. Leonardo Ulloa capped a fine game with a well-placed header. Burnley's unbeaten start is over. Brighton 2, Burnley 0.
Right, that change of kit at Hillsborough worked wonders for Millwall, Alan Biggs.
Eventually, yes. Sheffield Wednesday 2, Millwall 2. The home side here denied a first win of the season by a team finally taking their first point. And for reasons the kit man might explain, Millwall played the first half in yellow and the second in orange after their proper kit finally arrived late at half-time. Maybe all they needed was a rub of the green. They got it in the end in the form of a late penalty, but I thought Richard Chaplow was barged by Jeremy Hellan. The linesman spotted it, the referee didn't, and Andy Keogh delivered from the spot. Elhan had put Wednesday ahead in front at 2-1 after Reeder Johnson had levelled Zayati's early own goal for Millwall, who I think deserve their precious, long-awaited return. Wednesday 2, Millwall 2.
And here's your stat of the day. Derby County have now scored 101 goals away from home under Nigel Clough. Hamish Marshall.
And they've also taken 6 points from 6 on their travels this season. Well, Yeovil knew they were going to have some tough days in the Championship. This was one of them. Whenever they gave Derby a glimmer of light, they were punished. Johnny Russell and Craig Bryson scored near half-time, and there was no way back when Chris Martin followed up a powerful shot from Jamie Ward near the hour. Yeovil's problems, they've got 1 goal in 4 Championship games. Good win for Derby, though, 3-0.
And let me just remind you, if you've just joined us, Charlton Athletic Doncaster Rovers was abandoned at half-time. Doncaster were leading by 3-1. It was abandoned at half-time because of a waterlogged pitch. Don't forget highlights of all tonight's games, plus the thoughts of the QPR manager Harry Redknapp and Alan Hansen tonight on Match of the Day with Gary, BBC One, HD 1020. And just to remind you that Match of the Day 2 has switched to Monday night this week to bring you highlights of David Moyes against Jose Mourinho as United take on Chelsea, plus the 2 games from Sunday. Commentary of that match also on 5 Live. So, between now and 5:30 here on Final Score, we'll get reaction from all of today's matches, plus news ahead of Aston Villa against Liverpool. All coming up after a full check on today's results with Mike West.
And starting with the Barclays Premier League, Aston Villa against Liverpool is an evening kick-off at 5:30. Everton 0, West Bromwich Albion 0. Fulham 1, Arsenal 3. Hull City 1, Norwich City 0. Newcastle United 0, West Ham United 0. Southampton 1, Sunderland 1. And Stoke City 2, Crystal Palace 1. On to the Sky Bet Championship, Blackburn Rovers 5, Barnsley 2. Blackpool 1, Reading 0. Bolton Wanderers 0, Queen's Park Rangers 1. Brighton and Hove Albion 2, Burnley 0. The match between Charlton Athletic and Doncaster Rovers abandoned because of a waterlogged pitch, with Doncaster Rovers leading by 3-1. Huddersfield Town 5, AFC Bournemouth 1. Ipswich Town 1, Leeds United 2. Leicester City 3, Birmingham City 2. Sheffield Wednesday 2, Millwall 2. And Yeovil Town 0, Derby County 3. The Sky Bet League 1, Bradford City 2, Sheffield United 0. Brentford 1, Walsall 0. Leyton Orient 2, Crewe Alexandra 0. Milton Keynes Dons 2, Bristol City 2. Notts County 0, Stevenage 1. Oldham Athletic 3, Port Vale 1. Rotherham United 2, Shrewsbury Town 2. Swindon Town 2, Gillingham 2. And Tranmere Rovers 0, Peterborough United 5. The Sky Bet League 2, Accrington Stanley 0, Cheltenham Town 1. AFC Wimbledon 3, Scunthorpe United 2. Bristol Rovers 3, York City 2. Burton Albion 2, Bury 2. Chesterfield 2, Southend United 1. Dagenham and Redbridge 1, Newport County 1. Hartlepool United 0, Fleetwood Town 1. Mansfield Town 2, Portsmouth 2. Morecambe 2, Exeter City 0. Northampton Town 1, Torquay United 2. Oxford United 2, Wycombe Wanderers 2. And Plymouth Argyle 1, Rochdale 0. The Skrill Premier, Barnet 1, Nuneaton Town 1. Cambridge United 1, Lincoln City 0. Dartford 0, Braintree Town 2. Forest Green Rovers 0, Luton Town 0. Grimsby Town 3, Alfreton Town 1. Hereford United 1, Tamworth 0. Kidderminster 3, Chester 1. Macclesfield Town 2, Halifax Town 2. Salisbury City 1, Aldershot Town 0. Southport 2, Gateshead 1. Woking 2, Welling United 4. And Wrexham 2, Hyde 2. Into Scotland and the Scottish Premiership, Celtic 2, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 2. Dundee United 4, St Johnstone 0. Hearts 2, Aberdeen 1. Kilmarnock 1, Hibernian 2. Motherwell 1, Partick Thistle 0. And Ross County 3, St Mirren 0. The Scottish Championship, Alloa Athletic 3, Cowdenbeath 1. Dumbarton 3, Greenock Morton 1. Hamilton Academical 2, Queen of the South 0. Livingston 0, Falkirk 3. And Wraith Rovers 0, Dundee 0. The Scottish League 1, Brecon City 2, Forfar Athletic 1. East Fife 2, Arbroath 1. Stenhousemuir 4, Dunfermline 5. And Stranraer 1, Ayr United 1. The Scottish League 2, Annan Athletic 1, Albion Rovers 1. Clyde 3, Queen's Park 0. Montrose 1, Berwick Rangers 1. Peterhead 2, Elgin City 2. And Stirling Albion 1, East Stirlingshire 3. The Corvette Sports Welsh Premier, Airbus UK Broughton 1, Carmarthen Town 0. Gap Connors Quay 0, Avon Lido 0. Newtown 0, Bangor City 1. Rill 0, Aberystwyth Town 3. And the New Saints 2, for Talbot Town 0 is a later score. Lastly, the Danske Bank Irish Premiership, Ballymena United 2, Dungannon Swifts 1. Crusaders 2, Linfield 0. Glentoran 0, Ballina Mallard 0. Portadown 2, Ards 0. And finally, Warren Point Town 2, Cliftonville 4.
Well, it obviously means very little at this stage, but Chelsea are top, the only team to have won 2 matches this season. West Ham United and Southampton will be delighted to be unbeaten so far. The 2 South Wales clubs are propping up the table. Both are in action tomorrow against Manchester City and Tottenham Hotspur, respectively. 2 games gone. Newcastle will hope that being down to 17th is not too ominous. Into the Championship, Blackpool go top after their 1-0 win over Reading. Wins for Leicester City and QPR mean they also leapfrog overnight leaders Nottingham Forest, who will look to extend their 100% winning record against Watford tomorrow. At the bottom, Barnsley sink to the foot of the table following their 5-2 hammering at Blackburn. Millwall move off the bottom after claiming their first point of the season. Charlton complete the relegation zone. Leyton Orient and Peterborough maintained their perfect starts by winning today. Both clubs leapfrog Wolves, who beat Crawley Town 2-1 last night. At the bottom, the 2 sides Coventry City and Carlisle were not in action today. Tranmere were, but a 5-0 home defeat to Peterborough means they now sit third from bottom. Notts County lost to Stevenage, occupy the final relegation place. Into League 2 at the top, Oxford stay top after salvaging a draw at home against Wickham. Fleetwood leap into the top 3 after winning at Hartlepool. And at the bottom, it's Accrington Stanley and Hartlepool, both still without a win this season. Cambridge United stretched their lead at the top after beating Lincoln City. Barnet slipped from 2nd to 4th. And at the bottom, poor Aldershot are down there on -6 points, and Salisbury beat them today to register their first win of the season. Scottish Premiership, leaders Inverness couldn't hold on to a 2-goal lead at Celtic, but a 2-2 draw does leave them 3 points clear at the top. Celtic take second place from St Johnstone, whose 4-0 defeat at Dundee United. Hearts beat Aberdeen to claim their first win of the season, but they remain cast adrift at the bottom because of their 15-point penalty for entering administration. So you can also have your say, so let us know who's been outstanding today, whatever league you have been watching. Get in touch via Twitter, #result of the day. Love to hear from you. Stoke City then beat Crystal Palace by 2-1. Let's hear from one of Stoke's goal scorers, Charlie Adam.
First half we were disappointed the way we played. You know, we were never at the races, and fair play to Crystal Palace. They come here and, you know, they dug in deep, and, you know, they were a better side first half, but, you know, we showed a bit of character second half, and, you know, thoroughly deserved the game, I think, in the end.
You were quite cool in the box there for your goal as well, weren't you?
Yeah, it was nice to be in there. So no, it's good to get me off the mark, and hopefully, you know, that's one to the tally that we can get to the end of the season, and let's say it's a great win for us for first home game of the season.
Is it perhaps a bit of relief as well that the manager's got his first points in the board?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hype around when you have a new manager. There's a lot of hype at the stadium, and, you know, first home game and all that. But for us, I thought we played well up in Palace last week, and we took that in second half. We got a reaction after half time. which you needed, and overall I thought we deserved 3 points.
That's Charlie Adam. Let's have a chat with Motti there, who was there for Match of the Day. Motti, great to see you again. Did Mark Hughes' team look a different side in the second half, Motti?
Yeah, I think Charlie Adam got it about right there. They were certainly poor in the first half, Stoke, and Marouane Chamakh, coming from Arsenal, scored Crystal Palace's first goal in the Premier League this season, and at that time Palace looked quite well equipped to hold on to that, but those 2 goals in 4 minutes, Charlie Adam and Ryan Shawcross, turned the game on its head really. But I wouldn't be too discouraged by Crystal Palace if I was Crystal Palace, because I think that there were 1 or 2 saving graces about this. Dwight Gale, once he gets used to the Premier League, is going to be quite a force, I think, the lad they signed from Peterborough, and young John Williams, the Welsh international, came on and had 1 or 2 very promising runs. So I think Ian Holloway, who of course used to manage Charlie Adam at Blackpool, that was an irony, I think Ian Holloway will see some positives in this defeat for Palace, but I don't think either of these 2 clubs, Jason, will be fielding the same team in 3 weeks' time that they fielded today. My information is that they're both heavily into the transfer market next week, or they will be if they can be. They've got all sorts of targets, the 2 chairmen and the managers, so I think you're going to see 1 or 2 changes at both these clubs. On the day, Stoke will be relieved to have taken 3 points in Mark Hughes' first home game. Crystal Palace are learning all the time.
Motti, thank you very much indeed. And Jason, Motti's absolutely right there. Mark Hughes, that's his first win as manager since May 2012. We said at the beginning of the programme, he's a man under pressure. He has to prove that he is still a good manager.
Well, you saw his body language when the goals went in. This wasn't a man celebrating. He wasn't jumping up and down. He knows what he needs to do. I personally have worked under him, and I think he's a fantastic manager. He gets his teams organised. I think he's going to play 4-4-2. He's going to be up and at him. He's going to win the battle first and foremost, which he always said to us, make sure you win the battle. If you have to go long, go long. And I think he's shown that he has got an element of what Stoke used to do in terms of taking the throw-ins in the way they do, making sure that they lock the opposition in. But I think he's also going to ask them to play with a little bit more freedom. And I think when they start to buy into what he wants to do, I think they'll certainly change what they're doing, but in a positive way. And I think it will be more of an evolution for them. And I think Stoke will be a better proposition and maybe have different ways of going about winning the football match. And for me, this is a perfect opportunity for Mark Hughes to rebuild his reputation.
Very disappointing for Palace fans, given how well they played in the first half. The one thing we saw from Ian Holloway when he was in charge of Blackpool in the Premier League is that they were exciting home and away. Do you think that Palace can stay in this league, Danny?
I think he has to have learned from that experience. Although it was brilliant and we saw some incredible games and unbelievable scorelines, you have to understand that, you are going to finish probably in the bottom 6. If you finish outside the bottom 3, that's a fantastic result. You can't outplay, the top 8, probably the top 10 teams. They simply have better players than you. So you have to go with a different mentality and say, actually, we're not going to get beat. We're going to try and defend. That's not really the way at the moment in the Premier League. Everyone says, forget about defending. Let's just go and try and score as many goals as possible. Palace and those teams down the bottom aren't good enough to do that, and they've maybe got to change their way of thinking about how they approach games.
And you saw the game as well, and it was dreadful defending, wasn't it, by Palace?
Well, all around. The first goal, Chamakh brushes Shawcross just out of the way, just leans on him, and Shawcross gets shoved out of the way and he scores. And then after that, again, reverting to type, the long throw in the end that undoes them. Shawcross ends up atones for his error, ends up unmarked, just outside the 6-yard box by the far post, and just rolls it almost into an empty net. Palace defence absolutely nowhere, and I think Ian Holloway will be furious with that.
A set piece, that's another thing. You need to defend your set pieces. If you're going to stay in this league, those are the bread and butter things you have to do. If someone gets the ball, goes past 2 or 3 players and puts it in the top corner, you can accept that to a point. But set pieces, the ball's coming in, that's when you have to stand up against the challenge and make sure you get the first contact on the ball, and even more importantly, the second contact to clear your line. There was an opportunity for Chamakh to win the ball. I know that he's a striker and strikers union, you're in the box, but he had an opportunity to get it where he didn't, and Shawcross gets a goal, which ends up winning the match.
Caused problems all afternoon with his height. We know he's awkward. He's been awkward for the last 10 years. Ian Holloway should have known that, and they should have dealt with that threat better.
OK. Excellent win for Hull City today. They beat Norwich City by 1-0. Let's hear from their goal scorer, Robbie Brady.
Scoring Hull City's first goal this time round in the Premier League. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's amazing, we were fortunate enough the referee gave us the penalty. And it took a while to come round, but I knew just take me time and slot it away.
cries of a soft penalty. So how was it from your point of view?
I'm not sure. I didn't see much of it. I just knew when it went in that when the ref blew his whistle, I was just concentrating on the penalty. I didn't even see it, so I'll have to have a look back at it.
And then what happened with the red card? Because there weren't a lot of replays on the TV screen. So a headbutt on Russell Martin?
Well, I don't think I didn't see too much of it, but I don't think he's not that type of person. I don't think it was intentional. If anything, he may have just been leaning in as a bit of controversy, but it wasn't. I don't think there's any malicious in him at all. So, like I said, I haven't seen it too clear. So I'll have a look at that as well.
How much work went into tackling, being 10 men on that field and keeping your 1-0 lead? So how much work went into it tactically as well as psychologically as well?
Yeah, it was hard work. You know, Norwich came at us second half. They knew that they had a slight advantage with the 10 men. And it was a bit harder, but I think everyone done well, including the two new boys in midfield. I thought they worked very hard today, and it helped us with the win.
What does Steve Bruce say at half-time?
He just said it's going to be hard work, you know, we're our 10 men, and he just said you're going to have to work twice as hard when we went back out, which I think the lads did, so 1-0, happy with the result.
Great.
Let's talk to Steve Wilson, who is at the KC Stadium for Match of the Day this evening. Steve, I want to talk to you about the headbutt in just a moment, but first of all, it's fair to say it's a pretty feisty encounter.
It was a feisty encounter, and obviously Steve Bruce will be delighted because they've actually played Hull City with 10 men for about an hour and 10 minutes of playing time in this game. There were 6 minutes added on at the end of the match in injury time. So that's a huge effort to do that. To be fair to them, they worked ever so hard, but Chris Hughton will be very, very disappointed because in that hour and 10 minutes, they didn't create anything that you would really say was a clear-cut opportunity. That's partly down to the fact that Hull put in such a shift and partly down to Norwich's own limitations. The penalty, I know Chris Hughton thinks it was very soft. I thought it was justified, and the red card, I would say, justified as well, but really stupid from Sagbo.
The boys in studio were trying to watch the camera angle. No doubt you've been looking at the replays as well. It was a clear headbutt. Was it a red card? Definite?
It was hard to spot. Now, it's one of those. He turns to Russell Martin, Norwich defender, Sagbo, and he faces up to him and he moves his head towards Martin. Now, the contact is minimal. And to be fair to Russell Martin, he doesn't hit the deck. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't really react. So the actual physical contact, the amount of aggression is very, very minimal. But there definitely was a movement from Sagbo of his head towards Russell Martin. And Mike Jones had a clear view of it, and he interpreted it as a red card. And I think you would have to say that he was within his rights to do that. It was a silly, silly thing for Sagbo to do. And Steve Bruce was absolutely nonplussed when he was shown the red card, as were we all. But when we saw eventually a replay which showed what had happened, you had to say, yep, do you know what? The referee's got it right.
Steve, great stuff. Thank you very much indeed. Right, OK, so you saw bits of it. I saw you leaning across the studio to try and get a glimpse of it. The cameras have picked something up. But from what you've seen, is Steve right that if he has put his head in Martin's face, he has to go?
I think it's a difficult one because, you know, you talk about he's been sent off for an alleged headbutt. You know, when I was sort of started off playing football, a headbutt was proper wallop. You know, it sounds more like it's been a bit of a squaring up and he's lent in, which we see an awful lot. If there has been contact, the referee by rights, you know, can send him off. And in this day and age, it's understandable. I'm not quite sure. Having seen the penalty, I still think it was a soft penalty. And Turner could have quite easily had one given on him at the other end as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Also, you look at Norwich, obviously, problem scoring goals. When you're down there trying to stay in the league, which they have been, it's about scoring goals. They've tried to address that, and I know they'll be disappointed that, of course, Hooper couldn't play. But you've got Redmond, Van Wolfswinkel, Almanda coming off the bench. They've also got Houlihan as well. So they have players who can create chances and score goals. And, you know, the last couple of games, they haven't done as well in that department as they would have liked. They spent a lot of money to address that. And if they're going to stay in the league, they have to make sure that they do that better.
OK, thank you. Roberto Martinez still looking for his first Premier League win as Everton manager. He's been talking to Guy Mowbray.
Has it been a difficult week for you? You've had some unwanted attention for your players?
Unfortunately, I said it before. I don't think it's right for anyone to have competitive games in the window. I don't think that's right, and I think it should be looked at. And the law of the game allows you to have this speculation. I think internally we all focus on our job, which is trying to prepare the games and be as strong as we can be and get our football concepts as good as we can. So I know that in the outside there's a lot of attention, but clearly internally all we want is to be as good as we can to face the games.
The players themselves don't seem to be unsettled. I mean, both of them put in great jobs today.
Well, they're top professionals. I think, as I said many times, the players is tough. Sometimes we forget about the human side of the footballers, but they've been incredible ambassadors to the football club. They had a long relationship with our club, and that's something that we always value and is something to praise.
How was the experience for you emotionally, your first proper home game as Everton manager?
Well, it is a special feeling, the one you get at Goodison Park. I must admit, I felt really honoured and privileged to be in that position. But obviously, once the game starts, it's about the players, it's about how quickly we can develop that relationship between the team and the fans, and making sure that we can be very, very strong at home. So it's a good day that now we can leave it in the memory and start working.
I suppose Roberto Martinez, Jason, is learning very quickly about life at, no disrespect to Wigan Athletic, but a big club.
Yeah, I think he is. And I always find it interesting. He spoke about the human side of football. I always find it interesting when managers talk about it when there's interest in their players, because if Roberto Martinez gets the opportunity to go and manage Man United, is he forced an issue to go himself? So there's two sides to that.
That's a very good
yes,
point.
From a player's point of view, you want to go and do the best you can. But from a manager's point of view, who'll say, hey, come on, stick with me. We're going to build something here. If they get the opportunity to move on themselves, it seems to happen.
How do you think Roberto is handling this little, shall we say, transfer spat between the former manager of Everton?
I think he's doing reasonably well. They obviously have a value. If it gets to 35, 36 million for the both of them, they could well both go. I think maybe one of them will go, and I think possibly that would be Fellaini. United would be more interested in taking Fellaini there. He would add more to United than Baines would in my eyes.
OK, thank you. The day's early kick-off in the Premier League took place at Craven Cottage. Fulham 1, Arsenal 3. Let's get all the reaction from that game, starting with the Arsenal manager, Arsene Wenger.
We had an impressive performance because we played like a team who knows is in control and knows what they are doing. We have a style of play that the players respected well, and overall I think we deserved the win, and so it's good that we had a good win at Fenerbahce. We had a good win today. You know, it's good to respond after our disappointing first result.
I feel that, of course, they're a good footballing team, and we had some players on the pitch, you know, like Scott Parker. I thought he did great, but of course the fine-tuning in midfield was not always fantastic, and to get a goal like that first goal was a bit lucky, you know, and even the second goal was a deflection, but they're a good footballing team, so they will give you a few problems. I thought that although, of course, we were 2-0 down, we kept going at the second half. We tried to do something about the score. Of course, you can break down. We didn't. We scored a goal, so I feel that with 2-0, if we would have scored a goal earlier, we could have done something about it. But they played well, and all credits to them.
All summer, people have been saying Arsenal bring in a new striker, Giroud and Podolski now have 38 goals for you between them in just over a season.
That's you know, it's you have to look at the performances and not too much at always opinions. I can understand that people want names, and we want as well, but you have to find the right balance between trusting your players and getting the right reinforcement of a squad when it's possible.
Arsenal have become the first club to register 100 league derby wins in London. There you are. That's a stat you can wow your mates with down the pub tonight. Spent all night with that one. What do you make of Arsenal today, Jace?
Well, listen, like I said earlier, people talking about crisis. This is the second win in the week. You know, they had a good end to the season last year. They've got Giroud playing well. They've got Walcott stepping up, scoring goals, over 20 goals last season. Yes, people want reinforcements. Yes, people want star names. But if they can keep the players that they've got, and for Arsenal, that's been the challenge over the past few years. This is a club that have been in the Champions League for the last 16 seasons. This is about what is success for Arsenal. Is it just getting to the Champions League, or is it winning titles?
Right, let's hear from Mark Hughes, the Stoke City manager. He's talking to Ivan Gaskell.
Mark, it's always nice to get off the mark, and then your first home game too. How do you feel after that?
Yeah, we're delighted. Obviously, we had a setback, went behind in the game. And, a little bit difficult in the first half. The wind was in our faces, and in fairness to Palace, they pressed us high up the pitch, and we found it quite difficult to get out. And obviously, we made an individual error, which obviously they punished. So a 1-0 down. We knew we had to come out in the second half and do something about it. I thought we were excellent in the second half. We're much more on the front foot. Took the game to Palace and scored 2 good goals. So overall, delighted with the afternoon.
The fans certainly rediscovered their voice, and this place, as you know yourself, having visited it as a manager in the other dugout, when it's rocking, it really rocks, and it does help, and they got behind you once you turned it around.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to need them this year, obviously, because we're going to have days where it doesn't go the way we hope it will do. But I thought, like I said, the first half wasn't what we were looking for, and we were behind in the game. But second half, we were excellent, and the strength of the crowd behind us obviously helped us and spurred us on. And in the end, we saw the game out quite comfortably, I felt.
Congratulations to Mark Hughes. So the teams are on their way out for the late match in the Premier League. Villa against Liverpool. Simon Mann has all the latest news.
Well, Aston Villa have a dreadful recent home record against Liverpool. 1 win here since 1998, but the belief gained from their opening 2 games of the season suggests Liverpool will need to be near their best today. Villa excellent at Arsenal, unlucky at Chelsea. Manager Paul Lambert has responded in an oblique way to Jose Mourinho's criticism of their playing style. Contrary to what may have been said, we play football the right way, he commented in his programme notes. Villa bring in new signing Leandro Bacuna for his full debut, and Joris Akore continues in defence after coming on for Kieran Clark at Stamford Bridge. We've less to go on with Liverpool, a satisfactory start at home to Stoke, and Brendan Rodgers is happy enough to name an unchanged team.
And of course, that will be on Match of the Day tonight. And then straight after Match of the Day, it's all the goals from the Football League with Manish in the Football League show tonight at 11:45. Let's just have a quick look ahead to Liverpool's game tonight. Impressed with Liverpool last week?
I thought attacking-wise, they were exceptional. Coutinho, Aspas, Sturridge linked up very, very well. They played a very fluid front three. No one really had a position. Sturridge didn't play centre forward. Coutinho didn't play on the left. Aspas, they interchanged all over the place. Lucas sat in front of the back four, did that very, very well. Henderson was brought in, I think, to add a little bit of defensive assurance, and Steven Gerrard was just allowed to play the quarterback role. Stoke gave them a bit of an easy ride. 1 or 2 concerns Liverpool defensively. Stoke did have 1 or 2 chances, but I think going forward, if they keep Luis Suarez as well, I think they will be absolutely exceptional.
Great start for Villa last week.
Yeah, attacking football at its best. The way they break, Weimann, Benteke, who for me it looks like one of the best strikers in the division at the moment. Egbon-Lahore with his pace. No matter where you play, no matter when you're pressing on Villa, you've got to be careful because there's so much pace and ability they can hurt you.
OK, Jason, Danny, thank you both very much indeed. So that's it for this afternoon. Reminder: the final score returns to BBC One next Saturday from 4:30 and via the red button from 2:30. Thanks to Danny and Jason. It's been a great day for Stoke City. Have a great evening. All of us here. Bye for now.